Hello everybody, welcome back to Roll Together RPG and to another episode of Chronicles of Aeodrun Origins. This is our little prequel adventure series where we are introduced to the new characters that are going to be taking part in our long-running campaign. We've had quite a few of them come through so far, and today is Sean's turn. Hello Sean, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good. Looking forward to this.
Good. Right, before we get into tonight's session, we have a couple of sponsors and supporters that we need to thank. Our sponsors are Phoenix Dice, and our supporters are Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms and Bearded Ladies. The links for those will be in the chat or in the description below if you are watching on YouTube. Big thank you to our D20 Club on Patreon. We like to do the love hearts every time. You can join from as little as one of your local currency by following the links in chat or in the description below. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to do the content that we do right now for all of you, for you to enjoy. So please do consider joining. As I said, one of your local currency or one goat, which has to be sent to Tom. Don't ask why. Just has to be. Anyway, before we carry on, there's an intro video for you to watch. This particular story begins in the... We're going to pull it back a bit, quite far back a bit, I should say, long before the events of the long-running campaign, long before the events of something known as the Rising, which is when the Undead rose up and sort of decided to attack the country of Aslora. Instead, we're going to go right back to the beginning of it all, really. Well, at least the beginning of it all for this particular character. The events that led to the path that they end up going on is what I should say. That's the long-winded way of how I'm going with this. So we are on the borders of the Aslorian Kingdom. The border itself is with the Volthiri Desert, which is where the large city of Abacathis is housed. This particular little village is somewhat of a farmstead / like resort area. As it borders on the desert itself, there are plenty of opportunities for there to be, little resorts and holiday homes and adventure parks and all of that sort of stuff. But the actual population of people that live here is very, very small, hence it being just a village. And in one of the huts, or in one of the homes, should I say, because it's a village, it's not medieval mud hut style, but in one of the homes, there are a group of 3 people. One of them is an elderly orc, standing probably around 6'1", 6'2", maybe, with slightly graying sideburns. Very short hair, slightly graying sideburns, a little bit of tufty hair poking out of their chin, wearing what would be considered a traditional farmer's clothing. The big difference for this would be that instead of having farmer's tools and all of that sort of stuff in his hands, he's instead got this big... I wouldn't say it's white, but it's like a dark cream coloured wrap that's wrapped around over one shoulder and wrapped around him with this big bundle inside of it. And you can hear the cooing and laughing of a little baby as you just see a hand reach up and begin tugging on the little hairs on the bottom of this person's chin. And you watch as his head goes down and he's giggling and laughing away. And sitting on one of the tables is a small... much smaller than this person, probably standing around 4 to 5 feet, probably under the age of 15. Another orcish girl. Her features are very similar to that of the larger man's, but not to the point where you'd think they were parent and child. It was more siblings. and this little girl has got her hair tied up into two pigtails that are, one is slightly higher than the other because they've tried to do it themselves and they didn't have a mirror at the time to do it, and they're wearing what looks to be a uniform of some sorts. Maybe they've been to school or just come home from school or something like that, or something along those lines. And sitting in the chair next to them is character Sean. Would you like to describe a younger version of your character, please?
Yeah, of course. So the man sitting in the chair looks younger than the male orcish person, but definitely older than the younger orcish girl. He's got short, probably in a kind of slightly parted, like fairly well groomed hair, I think. Maybe just thinning a little bit, kind of reaching that sort of age where the male pattern is strong, but fighting against it at this stage of his life. And he's wearing probably just quite simple farmer, like peasant-y type robes. I think it's probably just tending to some tools or something like that, just trying to sharpen up a hoe blade, or probably not a scythe. That's a little bit too grand, but just fine-tuning some of the more simple farming tools that he would be using day to day.
Yeah, there's a few wood and metal shavings that are on the table. Every now and then you watch as your younger sister will sort of push them off to one side so it goes off the other end. There you can see on the other end of the table it's more of a stool, and not a stool, sorry, a bench, and sitting on the bench there is a wooden crate, almost like a basket, and the shavings are going into that. It looks like that's she's sort of helping out by scraping all the things along. You see her hands are a little bit dirty from the different types of things that she's been pushing off the table as you've been sharpening. There's a whole array of tools around you that you've been sharpening, and you can see your older brother who's carrying a baby at the moment, his baby, because that would be weird if it wasn't his baby, but it's carrying his baby. And he's talking to the pair of you about local trade in the area and how I'll do it in character just so we can get a bit more of a feel for him himself. He's got his voice is a bit deeper, so I apologize for anybody who's listening to this with headphones. He's just talking to you, and right, so the trade up north is slowed down considerably. There's some word going around that there's some sort of invading faction or something. There's rumors going around that it's Undead, maybe. I don't know.
All right.
But yes, but it's really hampering on our trade up north. And my wife has traveled to Hazelthorn to trade some of our goods there, which is proving, obviously that's to the south, so that's proving very good. But at the minute, all access up north past Rose Chapel is kind of ceased at the moment. We're in a bit of a bind at the minute, so until we hear a bit more about what is actually going on in the kingdom, we're sort of at a bit of a standstill, I think. Just maintain the crops as we normally do, but just don't go north, really.
Don't go north. All right. Is there anything I can do to help?
I mean, I've got to look after this one while the wife's down south a bit. So if you wouldn't mind tending to the wheat fields and making sure, as you're doing right now, that all of the tools are well maintained and everything. Once my wife gets back, we can trade up and trade positions, and I can come out and assist you more with the work out in the fields. Mother and father have traveled to Erethinis in the swamps, so looking for some more exotic goods from the Imperium. So hopefully they come back with something that we can plant and actually grow. But I don't know. It's just a bit of a worrying time at the moment.
I could look after the Nipper as well if you need.
I mean, if you wouldn't mind, that would be most appreciated. I wouldn't mind getting 40 winks every now and then. This one is very rambunks. Josh can't say it's that word, so he's not going. Can't say that word in that voice, so isn't going to say it. It is very lively when it comes to, especially in the evenings.
Well, yeah, we all got to mock in. It's all good. And
you watch as your little sister just nudges you in the elbow and goes, yeah, I can help out as well. And your older brother goes, nope. You can look from a distance for the minute. When you come of age, then yes. And when the baby's a bit older, but not right now. She's only a few weeks old.
You got your schooling to concentrate on anyway.
School's boring.
Yeah, we know, but you got to do it.
Wait, I wasn't expecting that answer. I was expecting you to say something like it's really important for my life. And
well, it will be that too. Important stuff is, often also arduous. That's all.
Oh right, okay. Right.
Doesn't make it not worth doing.
Is this one of those life lessons that you're trying to teach me?
Oh God, no! I'm not trying to teach you in.
Oh.
Leave that to your teachers.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Yeah.
You need a break as much as anybody else.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Should we start dinner? I'm sure. Looks at no watch on her wrist. I'm sure it's getting close to dinner time. I'm quite hungry.
Yeah. Should I get something started or?
Yeah. Can I get the pans and stuff out? Can you show me how to make that dish again that you made the other day? Because that was really nice.
Yeah, go on then. Let's do that.
Right, okay. I'll get all the bits out, and you watch as she gets up from her off the bench, and she runs around and begins getting all of the different supplies out of the kitchen and puts them all down. And your brother takes this opportunity to have a seat, pulls the cloth off, and sort of nestles his baby in both his hands, and he sort of looks around a bit, and you watch as he goes down into a bag that's under the table and pulls out a glass bottle which looks like it has some liquid in it and some milk in it, and he begins feeding this baby.
I don't have the art to tell her that it's not supposed to taste like that. I always burn him.
He just chuckles as she's gone out of the room. She's gone to where the sort of like the pantry area is to grab some more supplies and some more ingredients, shall I say, and your brother just sort of chuckles, and you'll get it right one day, brother.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to, ain't I?
Yes, especially if you're going to keep your betrothed happy.
Yeah, fuck off with that betrothed.
If I could throw something at you now, I would.
Call her Valiara as everybody does.
Valiara. Yes, okay.
Right. Do we have any Kion Cobs?
We do. Look over and calls out to. He goes, Lorna, go look out in the outside pantry. That's what it's looking for. Go look in the outside pantry. There should be some more bits in there. She's like, okay, yep. And you listen as a door opens. You hear, oh, don't worry, it was just a step again. And then she comes back in. That bloody step, I keep tripping on it. And all of the ingredients are spread out across the kitchen counter, ready for the meal to be prepared. And you can prepare the meal.
I will indeed.
Nice and easy. You can. Let's get you. Performance check.
Sure.
I
mean, it's going to be as good as anything, I suppose. Oh God, yeah, that's exactly as I expected. Performance, you said.
Mm-hmm.
Well, performance is a -1, and I rolled a 4, so that is a 3.
Okay.
This is the same meal that probably I've tried to get right every day this week since the parents and brother's wife has headed off.
The people that can actually cook.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Your brother's the exact same. He can't cook either. But you prepare this meal. Your brother takes a bite of it and takes a big sip of water as I'm going to roleplay it. It's like, oh yeah, oh that goes down really well, yeah. And your sister's just, yeah, it's really good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I was watching the corn cobs a bit too closely, and unfortunately, I burnt the shite out of anything else.
I think it tastes really good. I like it. It's really burnt and really crispy. Gives it a really nice chewy centre. It's really nice.
You know, your nan would. You'd get along well with your nan.
She's trying to talk, but she's got her mouth full. So, any words that you can make out, it turns out it's not those words. She's completely untangible. Is what she's saying. She's spitting little bits of food everywhere, and your brother's giggling away, watching her while continuing to feed the baby with one hand and eating with the other hand.
At least let me hold the nipper while you're eating. Like and you're getting half of it on them, or is that deliberate?
No, definitely not deliberate. He passes the baby over to you. You're able to hold the baby.
Yeah, good. I'm glad there's no check. Yep. Roll a drop the baby check.
Roll a sleight of hand check. Dexterity saving throw. Butterfinger check.
We can hold a child.
It's at this point that there is a knock on the door. Your brother turns and shouts, "Come in." And the door opens, and in steps a very... also wearing sort of peasant-style clothing, but with a apron over the top of it, having worked in the local inn as a bartender / chef / waiter / everything, because nobody wants to really pay more people to do a job when you can just have one person do it. In walks your fiance, Villara. And she walks in and she has a little bit of a giggle at everything that's going on. Your sister sort of troughing down her food, your brother almost choking on his, and then she notices you with the baby, and you watch as she goes a bit red in the face, but she hides it pretty quick, and she walks around the table towards you and gives you a kiss on the forehead, and then walks over to the kitchen, pulls a plate of food out and sits down with all of you and begins tucking away at the food, and you can see her expression as well. She pulls a bit of a, for podcast listeners, a bit of a "oh no" face, but she carries on eating. She goes, "Oh, darling, this definitely tastes a lot better than the one yesterday. You're really beginning to get your flavors. I imagine that because you've been doing this all week, that you roll, if we go in game terms and you've rolled performance checks each day, it started off a natural 1. It's gone up. Progressively getting better."
I mean, it's important, isn't it? You can't always rely on others to cook your food. Good survival skill.
It is, yes. It's very admirable that you're still practicing and all of that. I mean,
skill that I happen to be shite at, but
I mean, you won't be. One of these days, you'll be cooking in the kitchen of the tavern with me. Nervous laugh.
Don't know. I'm much better in the fields. Like I know where I am with plants.
That's fair. You've always had a bit of a way with how they grow and knowing when the right seasons and all that are. So, but it is good to broaden your horizons, as they say.
Well, you know what you're doing with a plant, but as soon as you get to cooking it and passing it on to other people, that's where the unpredictable bit is.
Yes. Have you heard the latest news?
No, I've been in fields, and why?
Mother turns to look at your fiance. It's like, no, what? We've had a couple of soldiers come through the village today. Stopped off at the tavern for some food and stuff, and I got talking to them, and they were saying that they're heading up north because there's been a large army of undead begin to form in the capital. Apparently the king and his family have all been killed, I don't know how true that is, but there's just this mage has taken over and it can somehow control the undead and is beginning to sweep over the land. Again, I don't know how true this is, but I mean, they sounded pretty scared.
The soldiers were scared.
So the soldiers sounded scared because they weren't sure what they were going to be walking into. Horde of the undead, you know, 1 minute you're fighting them, you lose a couple of friends, and then all of a sudden you're fighting your friends. It sounds horrific.
Yeah. Well, let's hope they don't push too far south.
Oh, I'm hoping they don't. But you know, they've just a rumor is that from what the soldier said, they're on their way to Mistgrave, which is not far from Rose Chapel. To be fair, it's only a few days, so it's only just north of where we are.
It'll be all right.
Yeah, I reckon it'll be fine. If the entire country in Kingdom is mustering its forces, then I'm sure they'll bottleneck them and get rid of them. It'll be fine.
Exactly. It's undead. It's like, all right, yeah, you got the nature of them bringing back reinforcements, but I mean, it's not like they're thinking for themselves, is it? You just gotta. How could that be?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, tucks into her food, and the night progresses. You have a bit more of an uplifting conversation about general things going on in the village and in the surrounding areas. Your brother doesn't bring up any more about the troubles with trading north and all of that sort of stuff, and it's just general lifetime stuff that you discuss. And at the end of the night, you all go your separate ways and rest. You, your brother and sister all live at home with your mum and dad still because it's on the farm. Your fiance doesn't live with you at the moment. She's, I don't know about you, but she's a very strong believer in you don't move in together until you're married. So she lives, her family run the tavern, so that's where she goes. She goes off there. If you want to, you can walk her back and then come back and take a long rest.
I think Karnan probably would have walked back. I mean, it's a very small, like, insular village, so
yeah, it's not. I mean, I think it might maybe, and can tell me if I'm wrong here, but the fact that she's told you that soldiers have been through, and you know, people that you might not necessarily know, might make you think, yeah, I will walk you back, because you can't trust people all the time, sort of thing. Obviously, if I'm wrong on that, correct me. But still, what's the word? It's still the, I don't want to say gentlemanly. It's still the, what would be? It's like etiquette, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, chivalry, but also like
chivalry. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. The chivalrous thing to do.
But it's also he's Udric's not not a small orc. Like he's of the opinion that there's very little kind of bigger than him apart from maybe his older brother. So the least he can do is kind of be a presence, and that's whether it's his sister, whether it's his fiance, whether it's any other folk in the village that are maybe just need a little bit extra reassurance. He doesn't mind it. Just walk back through the fields.
Yeah, walk back through the field, because you have to go through the fields in order to get to the village proper and then to the tavern itself. But you drop her off, you come back home, and you rest for the evening. In the morning, you're normally would you be an early riser because of working in the fields and stuff? Would you get out there quite early?
I think so, yeah. Probably just body clock is set to wake up just before the dawn, kind of already has his boots on before the sun's peaked.
Yeah, so you're out in the fields just as the sun is beginning to crest over the mountains and light is beginning to get to your crop. And as you are cutting or maintaining, watering, all of the different things that you would be doing, you begin to hear the sound of bells coming from the village. loud, coming from the bell tower, loud ding, 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 ding. That's normally the bell tower itself is never really rung. The last time it was rung was 5 years ago. No, actually, sorry, it ended 5 years ago. So it was 20 years ago was the last time that it rung, when an event known as the Border War happened, which was when the kingdoms of or the land of Volthiri and Ashlora had a little bit of a fight on the border, and Eldamire was right in the center of that. So that was the last time the bell was rung. But it's ringing now. What would you like to do?
I think Udric would probably go back to the farmhouse, maybe collect his brother.
Mm-hmm. Your brother is standing outside the farmhouse with baby in arm, looking over the fields to try and spots you as you come out from one of the columns of one of the higher harvests. You hear the bell, right?
Yeah, I'm not deaf.
Right, good. I thought I was hearing things, didn't get much sleep last night. Bit of ringing in the ears and all that sort of stuff. What do you think it is?
It's only one thing it can be, isn't there? It's got to be this undead thing.
Right, let's get to the tavern then.
Yeah, probably best.
Right, and you begin making your way to the tavern. The tavern is kind of like the town hall as well, or the village hall. Acts as both as the village isn't large enough to warrant having its own separate village hall that is never used. But you get there, you can see that there is for the village, a large crowd outside. There's 30-40 people that live here in total, spread across 6 to 7 different families, and they're all stood in sort of a semicircle around where the bell tower is. And you can see that there are 3 armored men riding on horses that have, I want to say parked, but they haven't parked because they're horses, that have sort of stopped. And you can see that there is the center horseman is wearing a lot of, his armor looks almost ceremonial. He's got a big plumage that's coming out the top of his helmet. He's got a long cape that is almost dripping onto the floor. It's sort of wrapped around the saddle of the horse, and he's holding a large piece of parchment out, and he seems to be reading something from it as the pair of you get to where you can see your fiancée is stood. She goes over and says, these soldiers just came into the village just now and began ringing the bell, and none of the village actually touched it, but they're saying something about they need volunteers.
As in volunteers for the army?
I think so, yeah. He hasn't quite gotten to that part yet. And as she says that, the soldier begins reading out and is saying that the king of Ashlora has fallen. The people of Aeodrun, the capital city of Aeodrun, have fallen. The kingdom is in tatters. The undead have risen. They are pushing north. They're pushing south. We need volunteers. We need people to come and fight. One person from each family. Your brother looks around and goes, well, I mean, I have to go fight, surely. I'm the oldest. It's my responsibility.
No, your responsibility is to your family. Your babe, so...
Right, but you're about to get married.
Udric will kind of look over to Valiara. I mean, I can't let them get down south.
No, I completely agree. And she looks to your brother. Nath, he's right. You're the most qualified to look after your family business. It looks back to you. It's going to pain me to to see you leave, but
I'll be
like
back.
you said, you'll be back, and we can't let them get south.
Much better that I go to meet them, armed and aware, rather than they catch us at some point. It's not. It makes the more sense.
Okay. Yes, I don't want to agree, but I do, if that makes sense. I understand, but I'm not happy about it.
Well, no, I don't think anybody's happy about it. But you've got to go with the least worst option, haven't you? And short of packing up everything in Scarprim, which is not particularly a enticing option, and I'm definitely not letting him pack up on Gore, so I'm the only option, really.
You watch as a few other family members from other families begin stepping forward, and they go, I volunteer, I volunteer, I volunteer. And they're each given a scroll, a wrapped up scroll that seems to have a seal embedded on it. And they each walk round to the other end of the bell tower. On the other side of the bell tower, you can see there is a cart and 2 horses with a rider, and these people are being loaded up into the cart to be taken off.
Right, straight off.
Straight off. They're going straight off right now.
No time to pack either. Right, okay. He'll be fine. He'll go to give her a kiss on the cheek. I'm imagining that it's a very kind of fairly Puritan, I guess, like situation. So that's what he's kind of give her a kiss on the cheek and say, I'm going to come back from this, but I'm nothing if not pragmatic. If I'm not back after a year, you move on. I don't want you to be alone.
You'll be back. You'll be back.
You'll also be back, but those are my wishes. If and it's a big if. If I don't come back, you find happiness.
Okay, I'll make this promise to you, but I know that you'll be back within a year.
Yeah,
can't be that bad, can it?
No, it's undead. Man, the zombies, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. She gives you a little peck on the cheek, and you step forward.
I will kind of give my brother a hug as well.
Yeah.
Say goodbye to Lorna for us. I thought I was going to have a little bit longer, but tell her I'll be back to teach her my recipe.
Oh, I will do. And the little baby begins sort of pulling at your farmer's clothing and starts sort of tugging at it and doing.
I give the baby a kiss on the forehead as well.
Yeah, and
my secret ingredient is leaving it on 10 minutes too long. Yeah,
I knew that. Yes. Good luck, brother.
Kind of runs out of things to say to Stall and just kind of will straighten up his back and turn on his heel to try and make himself too rigid to look back any further, and will go up and accept a scroll from the soldiers.
So as you step up to the soldiers, the one in the middle with the regal armor on, you can't see his face because of the helmet he's wearing. He pulled up half of the face mask, so the bottom of his mouth was visible. But as you approach, he goes, "Name?"
Karnan Udric. Family up the farm.
Ah, right, yes. The last family we were looking for. Fantastic. Ticks your name off.
So I had a lot of goodbyes.
Reaches into a pouch. Nope, that's perfectly understandable. Hands you one of these scrolls. Walk round to the bell tower. You'll see the horse and cart. Please go into that, and you will be taken on your way.
Yes, sir. We'll follow the directions.
Yeah, so you walk around, you get into the cart. You can see there's other people there. There's with you included. There's 7 people here. Not many people to be added into an army, but then again, you are only a small village. So, but they're all people that you know, and you are sort of escorted off. And at this point, we're going to do a little, as we sort of jump forward a little bit of time, not by much. It's about 6 months after you'd left Eldermire. You had travelled to the town, travelled to the village of Mestus, which is known as Crossroads Village. If you were to go north from there, you would end up at the Titan's Pass, which takes you into northern Idorune and to the Dimigan Empire territory and all that sort of stuff. West would take you towards where the marshes are, the Grimmerk marshes. East takes you towards where Ostragos, Merkstead, and all of that sort of stuff. And south would take you back to Eldermire, or split off and take you towards where the now ruined capital is, if you were to go down another split road. But you were brought to Mestus, where the training camps were. You were put through very basic training on how to fight the undead. Throughout the time, there is one person that's sort of almost stuck to you like glue. It's a dwarven man in his, in human years, he's in his mid to late 20s. His name is Luca Brightaxe, and the day that you arrived in Mestus, he was sort of getting off of a separate cart from a separate area. He'd actually come from Merkstead, and he sort of latched onto you, and you two have sort of become friends in this time, and you've been squadded up together in the same regiment, and it's been uneventful. There have been pockets of undead that have tried to attack, but you've taken care of them pretty quickly. There's not been much of a threat. Like you said, they're mindless. They've not really done an awful lot. You sort of killed them and disposed of the bodies, either buried or burnt. But one day, Luca comes into your tent, and he looks at you and goes, "Right, Udric,
you heard a knocking.
I mean, it's a tent. I can knock on the post if you want."
Well, you didn't even try, did you?
No, I didn't.
Go on.
Were you busy? Shall I go back out and come back in?
You're in yet. You're in now, aren't you? I was only sleeping.
Yeah. Sleep. God, who needs sleep? Anyway, the commanders, there's talk of a big operation that's going to be happening soon. Apparently, it's going to deal a decisive blow to the undead. So, looks like we're actually going to see some proper action.
You need to be less excited about that.
I'm trying to be. It's very difficult. I'm very excitable.
All right, well, no, that's good. It's been, 6 months already, hasn't it? So
it has been 6 months. Also, we've got letters from home. I brought yours with me, and he pulls out this letter and passes it to you. Didn't open it, obviously, but look what I got. And he pulls out an envelope, and you can see that there's a letter in there, and attached to the letter is a picture. And by picture, I mean painting, like little painted picture. I've talked to you loads about my wife and my daughter. This is them, and he holds a picture to you. This is my wife. Her name's Tally. She's amazing. She's absolutely fantastic. And then this is my little daughter, my little Storm Saber, my little Lilla. That's who that is. Yes. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh yeah. I haven't seen them in months, so it's good to have a picture finally.
Yeah,
what did yours say?
Bit of a rush. I don't know if it was the same for you, but it was a bit of a rush, wasn't it? Them literally coming to the town square, and then you're on a cart. Yeah,
no, it's the same where we are. There was a few more carts for Merkstead because we're quite a big town. So there was a good 100 of us that got carted off from there. So
get you with your 100 volunteers.
I know, right? How many did you say come from yours? 7?
Look, at least 7.5.
7.5. Okay, right. No, I understand that. Anyway, what did your letter say?
Udric will open the letter and give it a read.
So there's actually 3 letters in this one envelope. The first one is from your brother, second is from your sister, third is from your fiance. Your brother, about 80% of the letter is your brother complaining about trade routes and not being able to find work for the farm, and then 10% of it is him telling you how his child was getting on, and that his wife came back from Hazelthorn, and they've been able to get a bit more done in the fields and stuff, and that your parents haven't come back from Erethinis yet. They've decided to stay there for a little while they set up some more trade negotiations and all of this sort of stuff. So that's the gist of his letter. Your sister is complaining about school, says that she misses you, that she's been trying to practice the recipe that you have been trying and thinks she's almost got it down, but wants your opinion on it, but knows that she can't send any food because it'll be rotten by the time it gets to you, but is looking forward for you to return so you can try her cooking. And then the one from your fiance says that, basically says that, again, that she misses you. She can't wait for you to come back. It's only another 5 months and you'll be back. Everything's fine. She's not heard any more rumors of like the undead coming south or anything from her end, and that business in the tavern is slowed because there's not many people traveling anymore because of what's going on, but she's confident that she's going to see you again. They're the gist of the letters.
Yeah. Do you know if Fukuria is still around?
Yeah, he's still around. I believe he's leaving in, again, I don't know why I keep doing the fake watch thing, but he sort of looks around. I think he's leaving in about an hour or something, I heard him say.
All right. So not a lot of time. I'm just going to get to writing.
All right, yeah, I'll leave you alone for a minute. Yeah. Actually, that's a good idea. I could probably do that as well. Is it all right if I write with you? Is it all right if I just quickly write something here?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm sure this is another notepad.
Yeah, awesome. So he takes a notepad and starts writing away, and you watch as he writes a little note to his family. You write notes to yours. Do you know what you want to say to them?
I think, given that he's not got a lot of time, he's trying to kind of just do a really fairly clipped letter. He'll kind of broadly summarize, oh dear, what a shame for his brother. Slightly wordier than that, but
yeah,
that side of things has never really caught his attention. So it's very much like, oh dear, never mind. A little bit longer in, to his sister, and trying to write some words of encouragement, and he'll be there soon to try her cooking. But then like he's probably going to push his luck a little bit more, like trying to write a little bit longer and I think this would be a separate piece of paper as well, so he doesn't mind if sister and brother kind of had the same note, but he makes sure that his fiance gets her own one. And I think he really struggles. Like he's got all of these things that he's been bottling up to try and that he wants to say to her for 6 months, and now that he's finally got a deadline and he needs to put pen to paper, he's struggling a bit. So it starts off a little bit like almost too formal. Like he goes into probably a little bit too much detail about some of the stuff that they've been doing and fighting, and then maybe scribbles it up, starts again. So yeah, it ends up being a little bit of a weird, formal, doesn't give too many details, but like says they've been busy, and that he misses her and he'll be back soon. But he's not much one for words.
That's fair. You get these letters done. You, both of you, the pair, you and Luca, get the letters to the courier just in time, just as he's beginning to pack up to leave, to travel to Mistgrave. Mistgrave is sort of like the front line for the fighting at the moment. you just get the letters to him on time, and he has a bit of a grumble about it, but accepts your letters, puts them into a separate pouch to his large pack, puts them into like a small little satchel on his side, and he tips his hat and begins traveling on towards Mistgrave.
I think before he goes, I would have. I don't know how much money he would be paid, but he obviously he wants to try and make sure that those letters get there. So he's going to give a silver.
Yeah, he hands a silver over. He thanks you. He's like, thank you very much. I'll make sure. Yes, track delivery. Yes.
I don't know what that means. I'm assuming you're going to make tracks because you're on a horse and it's shoed.
Yes, definitely, 100%. I would boo you right now, but I left my boo card in my other satchel.
Wherever one of them is.
Yes, but yes, thank you very much. Yeah, no, I will. I'll get this to where it needs to go.
Much obliged.
Hops on his horse and disappears.
Listening at home, Josh made a horse riding motion
noise. Yes,
and the noise.
I did make the noise, but I don't think it came through. I don't know. Anyway, Luca, after the courier's gone, Luca looks up to you and goes, "Right, should we get to the commander's tent, see what's going on?"
Oh, I mean, have we been summoned? Don't want to just hang around, do we?
No, come on, let's go, come on. It did give us about an hour to get there, to get everybody together to get there anyway, so we'll be on time.
You didn't say that.
No, I forgot, didn't I? Well, at least it gave you time to write the letter.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And also, it makes you look less of a Kino.
It does, yeah. Yeah, because I would have just turned up there really early.
Yeah, you'd just sat there. We'd have been sat there.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have left without me.
No, this is true. Anyway, let's go. And toddles off. You make your way to the commander's tent. The commander is in there, obviously, because why not? Why wouldn't he be? But this is more of a large meeting tent. So a lot of people are hovering either inside or just outside, but the commander is stood in front of what is effectively a war table. It has a little map of the region on it, and there's loads of little figures and things and little crude figures that represent the undead, and you can see that some of the generals behind are pushing them around and deciding on things and all that. And as you get there along with the others, you can't quite get into the tent because of how many people there are, but you can hear everything that is said. And the commander turns to you, Commander Udric, very close to your name, but it's not. Commander Udric just sort of booms over everybody else. This is a dragonkin. He stands a lot taller than you, about 7 to 7.5 feet tall. So the tent itself is quite high. Large red scales go down the side of his face, 2 massive horns that sort of go up from his forehead, curl across the length of his head, and then turn up into large spikes, into the points, sorry. He's wearing heavy plate armor in almost crimson red with gold filigree all around it, and his eyes are like burning embers. The pupils are like burning embers, not the entire eye is fire, but just the pupils, but they're very, very orange. He is a kind commander, despite being a red-scaled dragonborn and the sort of the connotations that come with red-scaled dragons. He's been very kind to all of you. He is basically a recruitment trainer. He recruits people. He is known as an Aslorian Knight, which is like the elite guard of the army, and he is in charge of recruitment. He's very kind. He pushes all of you, but he isn't like, I'm trying to think of a comparison. He's not barbaric in his teachings. He learns how far to push people, and then pushes them a little bit more than that, but he doesn't go over the top. But he can be strict when he needs to be, like really strict. And this isn't one of those times. He's got a very somber yet stern look on his face as he looks over all of you. Even though you're not quite in the tent and there's quite a few other soldiers in front of you, you can see him because he is the tallest person here. This is probably the first time, other than your brother, that you've seen somebody taller than you. Or taller than your brother, should I say. Because even your brother is taller than your father. And I'm not going to do his voice because your brother's voice was quite difficult to do. So I won't do his voice, but he says, "Right, troops, listen up. This has come from the Council of Ostragos. We are to be sent to reinforce the front lines at Mistgrave. The undead there have begun piling up. The forces, their numbers are vast, a lot more than what we'd ever expect. It looks like they've taken the dead from the city, the dead from graves. They've even started employing undead animals and creatures from the wildlife into their forces, and they're starting to overwhelm Mistgrave. Our mission is to travel down there. It's going to take us a week to get there, but we are to support our fellow soldiers there and try and push the undead back. Now, I don't say this lightly. This is going to be tough. There are going to be losses. There are going to be people in the enemy's armies that are going to look similar to, or will be, people that you have known in life, but no longer. They are undead. People here, people around you, look to each of your comrades who are around. You could end up having to fight each other if any of you fall in battle. This is a dire situation that we find ourselves in. If Mistgrave falls, then the country falls. And everybody, no, normally when Ulrich gives a speech or something, there's normally like a cheer or a hoorah sort of thing, but everybody is very silent, very somber. There's no whispers in the crowds. Everybody has a lot of respect for this man. And he turns back towards his generals, nods at them, and then turns back to all of you. We will be leaving at first dawn. Make sure all of your stuff is packed. Only bring what you can carry and what is essential to travel. Anything else will be left behind. Is that understood? And everybody, you just in unison, just goes, "Yes, sir!" And on your way. And everybody disperses. What would you like to do? Luca is stood at your side. You can see that the colouring in his skin has gone a little bit and he's looking a little bit pale, but he's sort of like nervously smiling, trying to, without having to roll any form of insight, you can tell that he is really nervous.
I mean, I think they definitely wouldn't hang around. Like, if they've been dismissed, they kind of turn on heel and go. But Udric's going to kind of nudge Luca.
Yeah.
First light. That means got time for a couple of drinks.
Yeah, I tell you what, I could definitely do with some.
Yeah, exactly. You look like you could do with something. You look parched.
Yes, definitely. Right, let's go. First round's on me, yeah?
As always.
I owe you from last time.
Kiosk, old friend.
You both make your way to the tavern tent, I'm going to call it.
Canteen, I guess. Cantina.
Yeah, the canteen, yeah. And I mean, all the other soldiers have had the same idea. So what they've done is they've removed the tarpaulin and all of that sort of stuff, and they've sort of made it like a much more open area. There's a lot more benches that have been pulled out from other tents to form this large eating and drinking area, and you can see that all the soldiers are getting their drinks in, and I wouldn't say enjoying themselves. There's a couple of people who are like, yeah, I'm going to kill 100 undead. I'm going to kill 200. And they're placing bets on how many they're going to kill. But a lot of the other people around here are more silent and just sort of talking amongst themselves within their own groups. Both you and Luca are able to grab a few drinks and sit down together. And Luca just looks at you as he looks down at his drink, sort of swishes it around a bit, and then looks up to you. Oh, can I ask you something? Can I ask you a favor, friend? I know you've done plenty for me in the time that we've known each other, but this is a more.
Right there. We've done plenty of favors for each other, so why would this one be any different? Go on, lay it on me.
If something was to happen to me on the battlefield, just theoretically, if something was to happen, would you go check on my family for me, please?
Yeah, of course. And I expect you to do the same for me.
I would. Yeah, I would. Yeah. Thank you. I feel better knowing that somebody who I trust will go and go at least check on them just to make sure they're okay.
Theoretically, nothing's going to happen.
Theoretically, yeah, of course, and takes a big old swig of his drink, puts it down.
Theoretically, if you do end up having to do the same for me, fair warning, you're going to have to eat my little sister's cooking, and if she's gotten it anything like the recipe she's trying to copy, it's not going to be easy.
He laughs at that. It starts as a nervous laugh, but it goes more into a more natural, almost like he sort of shrugged his nervousness off from that comment. And I will, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'll probably enjoy it.
More fool you.
He holds his cup up to do the whole ching with you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
We'll cheers him, and I think Udric's not a huge drinker. Like he's mostly a social drinker, so he's probably not going to chug his drink, but and again, probably not keep pace either, but we'll just keep sipping and joking with some of the other soldiers. I think can if any of them are left, can he see any of the other people from Eldermire?
Yeah, there's a few of them have been assigned to other outposts, but I reckon roll me a D8. If you roll an 8, then we'll re-roll.
6.
So I would say, well, okay, only one of them got reposted somewhere else. The other 6 are here.
Okay. I think there's definitely a kind of maybe they don't talk to each other so much. Like, you know, it's not necessarily we're all from the same village, so we're all friends. Hey, but I think definitely would have been a kind of like, you know, like when you meet someone from your town, like you have a little bit of a camaraderie. I think
there's a connection there that you don't really share with other people, including Luca.
So I think he will just kind of give them all a nod at some point, like over the evening. We'll give them all a nod, and it's a kind of unspoken agreement for the same thing. You know, Udric's nothing if not pragmatic. He thinks that he's likely to be fighting alongside Luca. So if anything were to happen to him, he thinks chances are it's going to happen to Luca as well. So actually it helps to kind of have a few people that will pass on the message.
Yeah. And that nod is reciprocated by each of the remaining members from Eldermire, and they're all within their own little groups, and they nod, hold a drink up to you, take a swig of it. Luca has probably 3 drinks in total before he goes, I think I've had enough. I think I'm gonna turn in.
Yeah, we're up early. You're gonna want me to give you a knock?
If you wouldn't mind, yeah. I think I don't think I'm gonna do much sleeping tonight anyway, but you know what I'm like, I sleep like a log, so.
Well, I'm up with the dawn anyway, so.
Great. I'll see you in the morning, friend. And he nods to you and gets off his chair and goes to his tent.
I think Udric's not going to stick around too much longer anyway, so we'll just kind of finish off whatever dregs of his drink are left and heads back to his tent.
Awesome. Right. So the evening passes and you wake up in the morning and you're able to prepare yourself for the coming journey. Now, in the time that you've been here, what sort of weapon do you reckon you've trained yourself with? Have you sort of taken to, or is there something else that you feel, what is your fighting style is what I should say?
I think Udric's life up until this point has been very much like farm-based, very much, pitchforks, shovels, anything kind of to do with farming. So has kind of naturally been drawn to weapons with the same sort of like haft to them. So primarily would use a spear. It's fairly handy with like a scimitar or a dagger, but yeah, mostly I think has been training with the spear, like spear and shield. So yeah, would potentially be that kind of in that initial shield wall, sort of trying to stop any from getting closer, and then making way for the people who are a bit more handy with the hacking weapons.
Which pairs nicely with Luca, who is more of a dual wield specialist. He wields a short sword and hand axe normally, and has been paired up with you to do counterattacks. So you and the other members of the regiment that have shields and spears would normally form up into a line, put your spears down, the undead would attack, they'd get caught on your spears, and then your partner would then leap over you, normally using you as a springboard to then dive into the fray and start hacking and slashing them up. And that's how yours and Luca's relationship sort of has evolved, is the fact that you were seen that you worked well together during training, so they paired you together when it came to this. And it's proven very, very fruitful. But as you begin getting ready, you get all of your kit together. The tents are disassembled by other people, by people that won't be traveling with you, as these were more larger training tents and less travel tents. So you are handed a bag that has a bedroll and a basic tent inside of it. Like not so much a tent, but more like the strings and tarpaulin for you to put something up, make something yourself. It's not a full-blown tent. And you will make your way towards where the commander's tent was. It's now been taken apart, and the commander has crudely drawn a map of the area in the mud with a large spear, should I say, and he's going over the plan. So normally, in order to get to the village of Mistgrave, you'd have to travel south from Mestis to get to Rose Chapel, and then from Rose Chapel you would travel east to get to Mistgrave. In total, that travel time is just over a week. However, If you were to travel through the woods off the road, you would get to Mistgrave in 4 days instead. But you'd have to cross 2 rivers to get there with no bridge. So that would slow you down a little bit. So it is closer to 5 days. But the commander wants to get there as quickly as possible in order to help bolster the lines. That is the approach that you're going to take. He does warn everybody that there is a ruined settlement that they will go through. The settlement's been abandoned for years, long before this event happened. So, yeah, that's pretty much the orders that he gives. We're going to head out now, and we're going to head south east.
I think when kind of packing up, obviously they were told only to bring sort of essentials, and given that he didn't get a chance to run home, like he doesn't really have a lot from home, except for those 3 letters. So he keeps the 2 letters from his siblings in the pack, but the one from his fiancée he's going to keep in kind of like he's got a pocket that sits underneath his armor, like near his gut. He's going to kind of keep it in there because he wants it close to him, but like also protected from the elements.
Yeah.
And the non-natural elements that he might encounter.
Yeah, definitely. Unless you get stabbed in the gut.
And at least if that happens, he should survive it. Even if, like, you know, the emotional instinct is to put it near your heart, but if you get stabbed in the heart, you're not coming away from it, and the letter doesn't survive. So
this is true. Right, preparations are made. Luca is for once up and ready before you are. He looks very nervous, but as he sees you, his nervousness changes to a more stern look. Although you can see that his eyes twitch a little bit, and you can see that it slips slightly every now and then. But he's putting on a face for the occasion, and you all head out. Now, as I said, it's going to take 5 days for you to get to Mistgrave from where you are. There is not much that happens in the first 2 days. The woodland area is thick. The sunlight barely comes through the trees. This is an area that isn't traveled much, so there's a lot of wild plants and not much in terms of footpaths for you to walk. With how many trees there are as well, you can't walk necessarily in regiment formation, so you are paired up into smaller squadrons. There is yourself and Luca paired up with another shield warrior and 2 more counter-attackers, I'm going to call them, and 1 ranger. The ranger is the one who is leading the way through the forest area. And as we get into the 3rd day, the land itself, the foliage begins to flatten out, and the ranger stops you on the edge of a tree line and points towards what looks to be a building. This is the ruined settlement that you were told that you were going to pass through. And you will gingerly walk through. You can see the commander and his small troop come through, and other soldiers begin coming through. There's a good 200-300 soldiers in total as part of this regiment. And you begin making your way through this settlement. The trees above there is no trees above because of the settlement itself, so it's a lot more open ground. Could you roll me a perception check, please?
I will roll a perception check. That is a 19.
So with a 19, your particular troop get into the middle of this abandoned settlement first, close to where there is a well bang smack in the middle. The bucket and pulley system has rotten away and collapsed either into the well or partially onto the floor. Buildings are so dilapidated that they've begun collapsing in on themselves. Some of them have sort of sunk into the mud a little bit. Others have just completely collapsed, and it's just the foundations that are left. As you walk past the well, you hear a scratching sound come from inside it, like metal on stone. And it's just as you turn to look down the well that you see a head pop out of it. The head is bald, the skin is gaunt and almost as if it's been torn off or tearing off of the bones. The eyes are a dark red, and this undead creature just leaps out of the well as you hear screams come from all around you, from the buildings, from the woods, as this army of undead just charges out and towards all of you. At that point, I think it's good for us to take the break now before we get into what's going to happen. So, unfortunately, I forgot to turn the timer on, so I don't actually know how close we are to the time. Hey ho, I will make sure I do it for the second half, but thank you very much, everybody. Go take a short rest, go fill up your drinks, do anything else that you need to do, and we will see you back here in a moment. Bye-bye. Welcome back, everybody. We have had our short rests. We have gathered ourselves some more drinks. I am currently drinking a blackcurrant drink. Sean, what are you drinking?
Just water.
That's sensible. In this climate, that's sensible.
It was unexpectedly hot today.
It was. It's really cold in my house, but I went outside and it was like, nope, that's really warm out here. I should not be wearing my winter clothes.
Yeah, so I was on my way downstairs and I was like, I've forgotten my hat, and when I was out there, I was like, I should have forgotten my coat and my hoodie.
Yeah. I wanted to take, I normally wear like a hoodie and a jacket when I go out in cold weather. A big puffy, like, fleecy type jacket, and I was like, get it off me, get it off me. It wasn't nice, especially when, you know, you got one hand with a crutch and the other hand free. It's like you can't really get things off. So anyway, in the first half of this Origins episode, we met, I'm going to say your full name for the first time in the session, and I'm going to get it wrong, Karnan Udric.
Correct.
Oh, hey. Wait, I'm terrible at pronunciations. Do not watch. Go back and watch Nat's episode and you'll see just how bad at pronunciations I actually am. Anyway, in the first half of this session, we found Karnan being recruited. We found out a little bit about how you live and your family, fiance, and all that sort of stuff. You learn of a rising of undead that was happening more to the north, away from where you are, and you were recruited to join the army. You spent some time, about 6 months, training with them and made friends with a dwarven gentleman named Luca Brightaxe, who comes from the town of Merkstead and has a wife and daughter waiting for him there. We ended the session with your Commander Ulrich, giving orders that you were to travel to the village of Mistgrave, which is currently serving as the front lines in the war effort against the undead, and your regiment is to go there and to help bolster the forces. Instead of going along the known road, you are traveling through the woods, through an abandoned settlement, in order to get there a bit quicker so you can bolster the forces a bit earlier than expected. On the way, you entered into said ruined settlement and were instantly set upon by what looks to be an undead ambush. And that is where we pick up now, as I am going to say the words that I like to say all the time. Roll initiative, please.
Yeah. 6.
Oh.
Very surprised.
Right. I'm going to roll for Lucas separately. You'll be pleased to know that Luca rolled a 5.
I mean, good. That's the tactic. Luca goes second.
Yes, this is true.
Good.
You roll a 6, and then I'm going to roll your troop as one thing, and then the undead as another. So your regiment are, they rolled quite high actually. They rolled, I'll give them a +2 in total, so they rolled a 17. And the undead also rolled a 17, but because they're undead, they've got a -2 to that, so they rolled a 15. Okay, so as our ambush begins, a undead crawls out of the well and leaps towards your particular troop as screams are heard all around from the ruined buildings, from the tree lines that your troop haven't come from, and hordes of undead just begin coming out there. All of them are wielding some form of weaponry, whether it be swords and broken swords, broken shields, bows and arrows. They look a lot more organized than undead that you fought previously that were just charging at you, trying to eat you. These ones seemed almost trained in what they're doing. But as they go to attack into you, the troops around you, the other squadrons, charge forward, and they all meet in the center of this settlement, and clashes are had, swords are swung, axes are clashed with great swords, and there are bodies falling here, bodies falling there, as these two large groups smash into each other. That will then make it your turn, because being as they both go together, I described them as going together.
Okay. I think Udric's going to fall straight into training. Like, I imagine, especially like the shield, like you can't really stow that away quite so easily. So would have been carrying the spear, and the shield. I think would just, probably just for ease is just being carried. Maybe just a little bit lower slung. So we'll go straight into, okay, shield formation, shield there, spear in the nook, so that when the undead does come for him, like, he can be there. Is the undead close enough to him that he could attack it?
The one that's leapt out of the well has sort of leapt at your troop, so it's landed right in front of you and is within range to attack. There's probably another 2 around that would be within range as well, that have come out from one from a building, and where both come out from 2 separate buildings.
Yeah, in that case, we'll kind of ready the shield, and has been kind of practicing a maneuver where he like thrusts the spear, slightly lets go of the haft, so the momentum keeps it going forwards, and then kind of catches it, and then twists to try and do a little bit more damage with the end. But I've got to hit it first.
Yes, roll your attack roll.
That is very low. Oh, yes, because I've been playing characters that are too high, Josh. That's very low. That was a 13.
That still hits. Your spear embeds right into the center of this creature's torso, probably just underneath the ribcage into where the diaphragm would be. You have let go, as you said, you've let go of the spear, so it travels a bit further forward, embedding itself further in before you catch it. Roll your damage.
Oh, dear. That's only 3.
3 points of damage. Okay, so as you deal this damage to the undead, it puffs up a little bit of blood that lands on the spear, coating it in this almost reddish black ichor. But its face doesn't show pain. It doesn't show fury. It just stares at you almost with a blank expression, with its mouth wide open and this gargling growl coming from its throat. Anything else on your turn?
Yes, I think so. So one of Karnan's origin traits is Fey Gift, I can take the bonus action as the help action as a bonus action.
Nice.
So I think, again, part of the training, Udric's learned to use that trait to aid Luca in the follow-up attack.
Okay.
So I'm going to take the spite help action. So until the start of my next turn, the first time Luca hits a target with an attack, that target has disadvantage on the next attack roll it makes.
Awesome. That sounds good. Okay, so is that everything for your turn?
That's action bonus, and I'm not moving.
Awesome. So as you provide this, would you like your spear back?
Oh, it would have been
like
a kind of let go of it slightly, grabs the haft, twist, pull.
Yeah. So as part of the help action to help with Luca, as you've pulled the spear out, with the way that you've twisted and pulled, it's caused the undead to spin on the spot, so it's a bit disorientated, as Luca, who would normally use you as a springboard, instead charges forward, ducks underneath where your spear is, it's coming back into your hand, and then proceeds to draw his short sword and slashes across the back of the undead's neck as its head is now turned. I'm going to roll the attack. This isn't with advantage. It's the help action, so it would be with advantage. It's just that your thing does an additional thing on top of the help action.
Yeah, I assume so. Yeah, start at 3rd level. Choose one of the following actions when taking the help action. Yeah. So exactly, it's help action and then hopefully causing some disadvantage.
Definitely hits. That is what is that roll? Oh, it was a 13, but it was a 16 plus 4, so 30, 20 hits. So that hits, and the damage is going to be 5 as he slashes into the back of this creature's neck. You can watch as the bone and tendons on the neck are cut and the head slumps forward, but you can hear the muffled growling coming from its chest area where its head is hitting. And as he is up in the air and he slashes, he brings his hand axe out and slams it down into the gap that he's made in the back of the creature's head. That also hits because that was a 13 plus 2. Actually, no, I don't plus the 2 because it's secondary weapon. And yes, so that's enough. I need to make a Constitution saving throw for the zombie, who rolled an actual 1. Okay, is that a 1? No, it's a 7, but still fails. As the axe slams into the back of this creature's neck, the neck and head areas split open and fall to the floor, and the body just crumples as Luca lands on the body and causes it all to crumple down. This particular undead is the one that has jumped out the well is dead, and you can see that the other people in your regiment are fighting and killing. You can see probably, I would say, roll me the D8 again, please.
I will do. That's an 8.
Oh, roll that again then.
Oh no.
I should have asked for a D6. No, I've asked for
That is a 3.
3. You can see that 3 of the people from your village are currently lying dead on the floor.
Okay.
As this ambush seems to have taken everybody by surprise, you can hear at the top of the next round, you can hear growls and screams coming from behind you, from the area that you walked from, as more undead begin and have sort of circled around and begun boxing your troops, your regiment in. Fighting is, because it's both of their turn, both undead and troops' turns now, fighting is fierce. You can see a large figure comes out from the woods directly in front of you. A large ogre creature, its skin fallen off in places, bone visible. Undead ogre, big club in its hands, big spear in the other hand, wearing armor of all different types of black and spiky variety, and it just charges forward, puts its head down as it gores into 2 of your fellow troops and pierces them up onto his helmet shakes them off and then slams his club down, crushing someone else. Makes it your turn.
I've been listening out to see if I could hear any commands from, well, anyone with a higher rank than Udric.
Oh, yeah. Make me a perception check, please. This is free. It's not an action or anything.
Should stop rolling physical dice. That is an 8.
8. You can hear a lot of shouting, and there are orders being shouted, but they're not all coming from the commander. Other people are beginning to panic and begin to tell the people in their little squadrons what to do, form up, cause a shield wall, retreat, quickly get this one, but you can't hear anything coming from Ulrich himself.
All right. I'm trying to kind of take my cues from my personal little regiment, so I guess try and line up next to the other shield person and get ready for the ogre to... It was coming towards us anyway, right?
Yeah, it's coming more into the center of the settlement, which is where your troop is.
They didn't tell us about no ogres.
They have a cave troll. That's what I should have gone with, an undead cave troll.
Oh, we don't want to be derivative. Can I do some sort of check to make sure he can hold his nerve? Like, I don't know whether he's ever come up against an ogre.
Who, you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wisdom saving throw. Make it like a fear effect.
Sure. All right. Well, that is a 15.
I'd say that there is cause for concern. You're frightened, but without having the condition, if that makes sense.
Okay. I think given then that, you know, his nerve is holding, like he's just gonna fall back onto his training. It's literally just gonna advance with the shield up, try and stab it somewhere it looks vulnerable.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna make an attack.
Go ahead, make an attack roll.
That's a 15.
15's gonna hit. It's a big one.
Well, that's 5 damage.
As you step forward, shield up, you very quickly realize that your shield is not going to protect you against this club if that club comes down on you. And that spear the spear that it's holding is probably 5 times larger than the one you have, and is a lot more jagged. Yeah. So that thing looks like it would be painful to get stabbed by. But you carry on stepping forward. You bring your spear up, and you just sort of jab over the top of your shield into what would be the knee area of this ogre. Break, pierce skin, pull it out, and blackened red ooze pours out of the wound, but the creature itself doesn't seem to be phased. Doesn't seem to have noticed that you've caused an injury to it.
Okay. Slightly regretting that Udric misjudged how powerful that first undead was going to be, and using up that fey gift, but I think it's definitely important to try and do it this time. So yeah, I'm going to do another help action for Luca.
Okay.
Again, spite. Try and give the ogre zombie disadvantage on its next attack.
Okay, so you do that, and as you pull the spear out and try to flick blood at its face to try and distract it, Luca charges. Is that it for the rest of your turn?
Action bonus, a little bit of movement towards it.
Awesome. Would you say that you've gotten down into a springboard position?
Yeah, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for Luca this time.
So Luca charges up. He's pulled his hand axe out of the head of the dead zombie that he's killed. He jumps off of you as a springboard, jumps up. The short sword is in a reverse grip, and he brings that down into the chest cavity of the ogre. I'm going to roll to see if it's going to go into the ogre anyway. Let's see if he actually does any damage. That is going to be a 13 to hit, which hits, because this... It's going to be 5 points of damage as he stabs the short sword in, slides down a little bit, causing more of this ichor to come out, and then he brings the hand axe out and tries to get it up towards the creature's head without throwing it. That is a natural 1, so unfortunately, as he goes to do that with the hand axe, the creature's head looks down and the axe hits into the armored plating on the helmet, causing the metal of the axe itself to completely shatter in his hand, and the recoil of it causes Luca to lose his footing or lose his sort of his hold on his short sword, and he swings sort of proper out of position sort of thing. He's sort of loosely hanging off of this ogre now instead of being in a firm position, and the handle of the hand axe is gone.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in a good spot. As we go back to the top of the round, you hear a voice shout through the crowd as Ulrich will use his commanding presence, and he orders everybody to try and fall back. When you watch as the troops begin moving away, as this happens, the ogre, who rolled quite high on their initiative, considering the fact they're not very dexterous, pulls the great spear. It's a great spear. Yeah, it's big. Great spear. The great spear, and just shoves it, thrusts it across his chest cavity area, cutting himself with the jagged parts of it straight into Luca. This will be with disadvantage because of the help action.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I rolled a 17 and a 19. So, unfortunately, I know the damage this is going to do. So, it pierces right into the chest of Luca. Luca instinctively lets go of the short sword, and is raised up in the air by this spear. And then the ogre just pulls it down over his head and slams downwards, causing Luca to hit the ground and is unmoving. Yes. It is now your turn. You can see Luca in a heap on the floor, the spear just being pulled out of his body as the ogre has had to step on his torso bit to pull the spear out, but he is very clearly dead.
I think Udric's instinct had been to try and pull his friend's body along with him, but seeing that the ogre stepped down on him, he knew there's no way he's going to be pulling him out, and he's as good as dead himself if he tries to pull his friend out from underneath a zombie ogre. So it's just trying to, I guess, take in landmarks, try and remember, right, where did I see my friend, so I can find him. But is going to follow the orders. It's going to fall back.
So you begin to fall back, run and dash.
Backing away. No, oh god. Yeah, no, I think if is going to initially be kind of backing away, but trying to keep pace with everybody else, and if everybody's turning and running towards, then yeah, we'll kind of use his action to dash as well.
Okay. What is your passive perception, please?
13.
13. So as you begin moving away, you can see coming from behind the ogre is a cloaked figure, probably standing around 5 to 6 foot in height, and it's holding a really gnarly, grizzled looking staff in its hands. Its head's completely covered over, and as you begin pulling away, does a 15 hit you?
It does.
So you are hit in the... Sorry, I'm trying to remember where the heart is. You're hit in the right side by in the right pectoral by an arrow. Can you roll me a Constitution saving throw, please?
I can indeed. 6.
6. Okay, so you are going to take... Just need to get the dice up. Ooh, okay, so you take 9 points of piercing damage and 5 points of poison damage. And you are considered paralyzed as you are hit in the chest with this big black arrow that knocks you to the floor. And yeah, you are not in a good way.
Yeah, I've only got 3 HP back left, so...
Oh, that's not good. As you lay there, your eyes locked, you can still look around, but you are, as I said, you are paralyzed. This paralyzation lasts for a minute, and you can see that your forces have fled. You can hear people calling out, "Commander, what do we do about the wounded? What do we do about the dead?" And you can hear the commander shouting, "No, we need to leave them. We need to get out of here, otherwise we will not live to fight another day." And they run. You're at an angle where you can see what's going on in front of you. So you spot this hooded figure again, and it pulls its staff in front of it and waves it across the battlefield. And then you watch as this almost like green mist comes out of the tip of the staff, and then it slams it down into the ground, which causes this mist to settle into the dead. And then you watch as the bodies begin to shift and morph and turn, and you hear the cracking of bones and the squelching of flesh as your former friends, as well as undead that have been killed already, begin to stand back up. The undead that you'd killed, or that Luca had killed by splitting its head in half, you watch as it sits back up and its head flops back into position and begins to sew itself back together. And you watch as Luca's begins to get up, his chest cavity almost pops out from where he'd been stood on, and they all begin groaning and moaning and walking further and further towards where your regiment had gone. At this point, your paralyzation wears off. You're able to move. Just as Luca looks towards you, head hung to the side, mouth open, and begins advancing towards you. He's got his short sword in hand, and it seems to have fallen out of the ogre, or a short sword in hand, should I say, and is walking towards you as the rest carry on going. The figure with the staff its head turns towards you, can't see any facial features or anything, and then just carries on walking as Luca is making his way slowly towards you. But you are now able to move. You're still poisoned, though.
Yeah, I think in his current state, Udric he knows that he's not going to be able to do anything. First and foremost, like, all of his training involved dealing the first wound, like weakening it, but then it was Luca who would finish him off. Like, it was, yeah, I think given that he's poisoned as well, he knows he's not going to be at his best. He's going to run. He's just going to, well, as best as he can, kind of amble down, maybe try and make it to the river. Like, is it a deep, like, is it quite a fast moving? Is it a river here?
There is a river. You could go either west or east to get to the river. It's up to you. East would take you past where the undead have gone, because the undead have kind of gone northwest to chase after the regiment. So if you wanted to get away from them, you would need to kind of run in the direction that they came from, because they're not there anymore.
Yeah. Which direction does the river flow in as well?
It flows south.
Okay, so and that's away from where they're going.
That's away from where they're going. Yeah, they're going northwest.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense to kind of get to the river as quick as possible, but yeah, in the direction that the river's flowing, so that then he's not fighting against the tide as well as everything else.
Yeah. So you begin running towards where the river is, and you quickly notice that Luca is giving chase to you. There's some spark of intelligence there that he knows that he knows how to hunt, as it were, instead of it being mindless, that you like the mindless undead you fought before. That spark's there and chases after you. And just as you get to, takes you a good 10 minutes, but eventually you get to the mouth of the river. You don't spot any other undead along the way, just Luca chasing you as you get to the mouth of the river.
Do you mean the bank rather than the?
That's what I meant. The bank of the river. Yes.
Gone all the way to the sea.
Oh my god, that was a good run.
4 days walk to the town, but it's only 10 minutes to the coast.
You died of exhaustion days ago.
Yeah. This is all delirium now. Yeah. Okay. So I'm at the bank. I think if I'm at the bank, like he's gonna dive in and try, like, just let the currents take him. But I am going to just try my luck. I do have daggers on me. I'm going to try and throw a dagger so I don't have to get close.
Yeah, okay. Make me a thrown dagger roll or a ranged attack roll.
I will have to.
As it's more commonly known.
Okay. Yeah. I assume this is a disadvantage as well because I'm poisoned.
Yes, because you're poisoned.
Good. Glad I remembered that. The first one was the low roll. The second one was a natural 20. That first one, it's a 9, I think. No. Yeah, 9.
9. Dagger just falls short and lands just in front of Luca as he stands on it and carries on towards you.
Yeah, no, I'm dying.
You're out of initiative, so you can throw as many daggers as you want or as many as you have.
I think probably seeing how pitiful that first one was, it doesn't want to waste weapons that he might need later. So, yeah, it's just going to dive into the river at this point.
Yep. So you dive in. Lucas stops at the river, and just you pop your head out as the current takes you. It's not a particularly strong current, but it's enough to move you. And Luca just tilts his head and watches unblinkingly as you go down the river.
I'm kind of swimming as best I can, but also just trying to keep his head above water.
Okay. Make me an athletics check, please.
I am strangely... No, I'm not. 7.
7. Oh, you're on a 7. Sorry, I thought
for
some reason.
Gone.
I was going to say my brain went into you saying that it was a +7, but no, it was a 7 as a result.
Yeah, +2, 5 on the dice. Rolling a lot of 5s and 6s.
So you barely keep your head above water. The clothing that you are wearing is definitely not suited to get wet. It's gotten heavy very quickly, and it is dragging you down. Your saving grace is that every now and then you come across a patch of the bed of the river that is slightly shallower than the rest of it, and you're able to sort of push off it and get your head above water for a moment to take a breath before you end up in a deeper part again where your feet don't touch the floor. It's not enough to kill you, but eventually it's unfortunately not enough for you to gain control of what you're doing, and eventually the current does pick up and you do begin to get faster and faster, and you can see that there is a mountain range that is coming up, and after a little while I'd say you would eventually probably pass out from a mixture of the pain and from the exhaustion that it's taking you to keep your head above water. So if you would like to mark yourself down as having 4 points of exhaustion.
Oh, okay.
I think 4 is the one before your movement speed is 0. If not, make it 3.
I thought 4 was the one just before I die.
No, that's 5.
Does that not make it 4 the one before I die?
No, that makes 5 the one before you die. You need 6 to die.
Oh, good. Then every day's a school day. Cool.
Yes, so you black out. And you're not sure how much time passes, which is a phrase that I've used quite a lot in these one-on-ones, but you don't know how much time has passed. And you eventually awaken on the bank of the river. You have no idea where you are. There's no defining landmarks or features anywhere that you can discern. You just know that you're in a wooded area. What wakes you up, however, is something poking you in the face. And as your eyes open, you can see a grey rabbit is chewing on some grass or some hay, or it's just chewing on something that a flower. It's chewing on a flower that your head is currently resting on, and it's trying to get to it, but in the process, it's banging its head against yours, and that's caused you to wake up. As I said, you've got 4 levels of exhaustion, but you're able to speak. You're still suffering from the poison, however.
I think one of the first things he's going to do is just draw like one of his last daggers, and is going to start just trying to cut himself out of the armor. It's like the armor is going to be the heaviest thing on him right now. It's just going to try and I forget what kind of armor he's in. It's leather armor, so yeah.
It's fairly easy to cut with a knife at certain seams. You cut where certain straps are, cut where there's a sort of, you can split the armor apart and cut down the leather plating. You can pull apart and split down the fabric that's underneath it that sort of meshes it all together, and eventually you're able to get the armor off of you. It's a bit more difficult to use your right side because of this wound that you've got, but eventually the armor just slumps to the floor. The entire time this rabbit has just been chewing on this dandelion maybe, and has just been staring at you with a head cocked, one ear up, the other ear lopsided, as it's just watching you.
Don't suppose you know where I am.
Just stares up at you, wiggles its nose a bit, goes back down to bite some more food, looks back up at you again. Once it finishes that mouthful, it turns and begins walking off. After a few feet, it stops and looks back at you.
All right. I think, growing up on a farm has obviously had some animals like that. It's not like he's not used to them. Is fairly acquainted with handling animals. In fact, some might say, but I think thinks this is slightly weird. Like, animals tend to be, like, particularly herbivores tend to be a lot more wary. Like, is maybe wondering whether this is just delirium as well, but is going to follow the rabbit.
It's a shame it's not a white rabbit. Follow the white rabbit.
I mean, that would be suspicious.
That would be, especially if it had a little clock on it around its neck or something, or a little suit on. Anyway, off
Not
track.
in Kansas anymore.
You get up, you leaving your armor where it is.
I think he's going to throw it slightly further away from the bank, but he's so just drained that like he knows he can't carry it with him. Doesn't necessarily, but may want to come back for it at some point. So yeah, just going to discard it. I mean, the whole point of cutting it off himself was because he also couldn't be bothered, like wasn't sure that he would get his pack back on his back if he were to take it off. So is anything, yeah, even trying to like get things off the pack to lighten his load, it feels like with the wound especially is going to be too much exertion. So yeah, he's just going to kind of amble to like after the rabbit.
Okay. You follow the rabbit. You get to about 10 feet. You get to about 10 feet away from it, and then it moves a little bit further forward, stops and looks at you. You move again to your 10 feet away from it, and it does that. And this carries on for a little while.
Where are you leading me?
Obviously, it doesn't answer, but eventually you can feel that there's not much daylight around here. Where you'd woken up on the bank of the river, there was a little bit of daylight that was coming through the trees, but the foliage above your head now is so thick that it's like there is perpetual darkness around. You stumble a couple of times on some roots of some trees. You fall into like a small little, like a footfall into a small little ditch. You don't like fall over, but you know, it makes you, it jolts you a bit and sort of aggravates your wound. But eventually you are led to what looks to be a bunch of vines that have grown up on a wall. And with your passive perception of 13, you can see that in the center of the vines, right at the bottom, they seem to be moving as if there's a wind flow coming through. And the rabbit stops there, looks at you, and as you approach closer, it disappears into the wall through the vines. Not as if it's an illusion, but it disappears through the vines.
Yeah. Well, I'm not getting through that. Where have you led me anyway? Udric, you're talking to a rabbit. This wall, does it look like it's... I'm assuming not a natural wall? Is it part of something that has been built?
I would say as you get closer to it, and with your passive perception, you can see that the vines around it are thick enough to provide like a natural curtain, and that if you were to move the vines, there's actually a cave entrance behind it. But the way that it looks from a distance, it just looks like there's a wall there.
Tricksy little rabbit. Yeah, we'll kind of part the vines and go into whatever, like follow whatever this is.
You walk through, and as you step in, you walk probably 5 feet, 10 feet maybe, and it's complete and utter darkness. So you've got dark vision, so you can just sort of see, but it's not perfect. It's not like as if you were in daylight.
Yeah,
but
so
eventually, after walking about 10 feet into this cave, you begin to see little lights begin to appear along the wall, where the ground meets the wall. Little blue lights begin lighting up, and then in the ceiling, more green lights begin lighting up. And if you were to inspect it, you can see that there seems to be some sort of a luminescent mushroom that is lighting up the way for you as you go through. And
they weren't like equidistant. It wasn't like manufactured. This is just kind of sporadic.
Yeah, so sporadic lighting around, and you see that there's a iridescent or illuminative moss on the ceiling that has begun to light up as you've gotten further into this cave, and you can just make out the outline of the rabbit in front of you. Eventually,
it's a long shot, but do I know whether any of these mushrooms are edible?
ooh, roll me a nature check.
Will. I know plants, 22.
Oh, bloody hell. Okay. You know, in the cookbook that was kept in your family home, that there was ingredients for various different mushroom-based meals or ways to incorporate mushrooms into any type of meal that you wanted to. So you reckon that you could use these mushrooms to cook something if you could find a way to actually cook. But this you don't know the names of these particular mushrooms, but you know of a way to get rid of the poison in mushrooms so that they can be edible.
I think Udric's gonna collect a few, but I don't want to like completely take all of the light source. Like it's just going to be like trim. Some of the larger clumps are just going to trim some from the outside, so there's still enough ambient lighting. But yeah, it's going to keep some in.
Yeah,
I don't know,
so
pockets.
if you're going to cut them, what you would know to do is you grab hold of the head of the mushroom and then cut it at its base, pull it out. Always leave the root in, because then that gives options for it to grow back again. Because mushrooms or at least the mushrooms in this world are regenerative in that sort of sense. They can rejuvenate themselves. Mm-hmm. And you know that when you look in the sort of base of the mushroom, where if you were to look at it from an upside down sort of angle, if you were to cut into the bottom half of the head and cut away what looks to be like little seeds that are underneath the head bit, pull that away, you can see the liquid that makes these things glow inside there. So you can pour that out. That's what causes the poison, or that would be poisonous for these things. So you can tip that out and then stow the carcass effectively of the mushroom away, and the head of it is more transparent, you notice now. So you put that away, you cut a few of those away. It takes you a little bit of time to do this, but you're fairly skilled with it, so you get it done nice and quickly. And I would say roll me a d10.
Ooh. The one that no one ever remembers what it looks like. That's 4.
4. You can get yourself 4 mushrooms, or 4 pairs of mushrooms. So you got 8.
Okay.
Be kind.
Yeah. I don't want to lose the rabbit, so it's also kind of mindful of time, I guess.
Yeah. So you carry on following the rabbit, and after a further maybe 100, maybe 120 foot worth of walking, you come out into a large opening. It's still within the cave. So it's not like you've passed through a tunnel and then out into more woods. You are within a large cave, and it is absolutely stunning. These mushrooms are dotted sporadically around the floor area. There seems to be some sort of tree or bush that has grown in here and has formed like a vine up around the ceiling. There are pockets of moss that are around the walls and the ceiling that are causing more natural light. And there is, right at the far end, this is a very large opening. Right at the far end is a large pool of glowing water that seems to be on there's various different elevations to it. So you've got the base level that's on the ground, and then it forms up into a natural rock formation above it, and above that, and above that. And it's like a little waterfall that's going down, feeding from the very top through a hole in the ceiling, feeding through that and causing that to cascade down into this pool of water at the bottom that looks quite deep and seems to have something swimming inside of it.
Something swimming inside of it?
Yes, very small things. Look like they might be some sort of fish.
Can I see the rabbit?
Yep, the rabbit is right in the middle of the of this sort of chamber and is looking at you.
I think we'll take a few seconds just to kind of take in this place, and then knowing that like he was injured and poisoned is probably going to turn to thinking about should maybe try and clean out that wound, like especially an arrow fired by an undead, like doesn't want to be infected or anything. So yeah, is going to kind of start moving towards the glowing pool.
Okay, you start moving towards the glowing pool. As the rabbit stays in position. Normally, like the entire time you've been walking with it, it stayed at least 10 feet in front of you, but it lets you approach, and then as you pass it, it turns and follows you. And as you sit down at the edge of the pool and begin, how do you want to use your hands to scoop out, or are you going to pull out like your mess kit sort of thing and begin getting the water out that way?
I think he's going to just kind of kneel at the edge of the water. Is going to start disrobing, like just taking the top part of the armor off, obviously trying to get it around the arrow where it's potentially like pinned in, and yeah, would scoop the water and maybe try and awkwardly but like splash himself like with some of the water.
Yeah, so you do that. You put hands in the water and you sort of throw it from a bit of a distance. You can't quite get your arm up to it, but it coats over the wound, and as the water falls off, you feel this strange warm sensation go into your wound. As you've pulled your top off, you can visibly see the poison. It's like this sickly green veins that have come from the wound and have traveled down your chest and begun to go up your neck and begun going down your arm. It looks really grotesque. But as you've begun throwing this water over, you watch as the sickly green veins is replaced with a fluorescent blue as the water enters into the wound and seemingly spreads across. And as it spreads across, it's then replaced with, so it's like a transition effect. So it starts off as green, goes to light blue, and then it's just your skin there. There's no scarring. The wound itself begins to knit itself together, to the point where the arrowhead that was still within you is pushed out and it just slumps to the floor, and you watch as it knits together and there is no visible scar there at all, and you instantly feel better.
I think we'd also kind of, seeing this, would take another scoop and drink it as well.
Yeah, so as you do that and drink into it, it sends that same warm sensation over your body. And if you were to look at your skin, you can see that there are elements of it that glow this iridescent blue briefly before it dissipates. You can mark off that you've had a long rest, and you can remove all levels of exhaustion.
Oh, nice.
As you feel completely healed.
Sweet.
The rabbit looks at you as you've done this, and it moves over towards you and starts sort of nudging your hand a little bit.
Thank you, little friend. It's quite a home you've got.
It looks up towards you with both its ears, sort of the one ear that was like a radar has flopped over to the side now, and its ears have sort of pushed behind its head. It looks comfortable. With your knowledge of animals, it looks comfortable with you. It sort of carries on nudging into your hand.
I guess we'll kind of hold his hand flat so as not to be kind of threatening, and see if he can kind of scritch it under the chin.
Yeah, it rests its chin, its entire head rests on your hand, and as you begin scritching it, you watch as its eyes sort of twitch and close a little bit as this rabbit seems to be enjoying it. You do that for a few moments before the rabbit's ears prick up again, and it runs away from you, runs to the far end of the cave towards where there looks to be a hole in the ground, and disappears into the hole. A few minutes pass, and it comes back up, but this time it's followed by another rabbit and a bunch of little rabbits to come out with it as well. And they all approach you and sort of circle around you, and well, they don't circle around you, they all appear in front of you, and the big one, the one that you'd been with, you can tell which one it is between the two big ones, just because its features are a lot more narrower than the other adult. The other adult one looks a bit bigger in terms of its build. Not fat, I wouldn't say fat, but it just looks like it's sort of more broader stock than what the other one is. The other one looks like it's more of the scout, the one that goes out and collects the stuff, and then the larger one is the one that is the protector and looks after the little litter of rabbits.
I think, still kneeling, Udric kind of return and like kind of bow, like puts his forehead down on the ground, has his hands kind of out, and we'll just say, thank you for bringing me to this place. I should very much like to intrude on your kindness for a little bit longer.
And you say this, and you feel something on the top of your head. And as you look up, you can see that the rabbit has perched itself up on its two hind legs, and one of its paws is resting on top of your head, almost like it's giving you a head pat, but without giving you a head pat, as it were. But as you look up, its paw comes off of your head, and it comes down to your level and touches foreheads with you.
Thank you very much. Don't think I'm going to be keeping my promise. I think he's going to go into his pockets and read the letter from his fiancée one more time.
The letter from your fiancée and the letters from your brother and your sister are a little bit water-soaked. They're still eligible, although some of the ink has bled into other letters, and some of the words are a little bit unreadable. But you remember the first time you read it, you can piece together what was said, and it brings you a level of comfort. But the question is, what would you like to do? What is your plan going forward?
Well, in the immediate future, so he takes these letters out, is going to go up to the tree, and are there any kind of largish rocks around?
Yeah, there's quite a few large rocks around. Yeah.
Is going to take kind of fold each letter up, put it in front of the tree, and put one of the large rocks on top of it, and is just going to scrawl the first character of everybody's name, whoever wrote that letter, onto the rock, presuming as well, some of the rocks might be chalk-like, so he can kind of do that. But yeah, it's going to leave those letters kind of next to the tree. And I think he's going to stay. Like he's got his mushrooms. He's just gonna try and eke out an existence here. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what's happened with the undead or anything. As far as anybody knows, he's dead. You know, he saw his best friend turn into an undead creature. In here, it's serene. It's peaceful. That, you know, the outside world hasn't intruded in on it. He's going to look up at the tree and kind of pledge an oath there and then to protect this grove.
Do you say it out loud, or do you like say it to yourself in your head, sort of thing?
Yeah, no, he would voice it out loud. Feels like it gives it more weight if it's so I pledge myself to whatever spirits or deities have provided this sanctuary. I will protect your secrets. I will keep this place sacrosanct. And I will stay here till the end of my days. Always in service of keeping this place safe.
You feel a light breeze almost circle around you, and you could have sworn, looking at the tree, that its branches had moved in a form of bow towards you. But when you look back at it, it's back in its original place.
Right. Suppose I should scavenge myself something to it. Don't worry, rabbit's off the menu.
The rabbit that guided you here, one of its ears has flopped, the other one procs up again, and it tilts its head with a little bit of a concerned look on its face. It reminds you of a friend who used to have concerned looks on their face all the time.
I'm going to call you Luca.
The ear goes down and it goes back to, and you can see that it's playing with the other little rabbits that are around. I think they're called kittens. I think baby rabbits are called kittens.
I know that baby rats are called kittens, so potentially.
We'll look it up quickly. Live on air.
Hairless.
It's not on air. No, they're called kits or kittens.
That's close. Yeah, it's going to, seeing as he feels kind of rested, is going to strip down like anything that he doesn't need to carry with him. So probably just the spear at this point. It's going to go foraging. Maybe see if he can find something, you know, meatier. Like obviously he's used to farm life. Like, you know, he's got to eke out an existence. So he's going to, yeah.
Well, it's the circle of life, isn't it? It's you can go outside. You're able to hunt. You know, I mean, would you hunt other rabbits or
no? I think he's gonna stay true to his words. He's never going to eat a rabbit, but obviously he's got to eat other things.
Yeah. So you hunt and you find a few deer, maybe the odd like boar-like creature. You know, you find all of these things. You learn over time. We'll have another little sort of time skip over
that's my first find. Slow
just your
cooking
first
here.
find. Ha ha!
That's dinner,
Farm
John.
this
What's breakfast?
place. There's some chicken and some eggs. You can just make your own farm. No, but it takes you. You don't find much on the first day.
Yeah.
Mainly because you don't know the patterns of the creatures around this area, so it takes you a little while. And there's a few days where you just have to live off the mushrooms and a few berries that are located on some of the trees around. And Rabbit Luca will lead you to some other locations where he goes to pick up food for his family. But eventually, over the weeks, months, maybe even years that you're there, you begin to develop a bit of a routine with being able to track and hunt other creatures of the forest. As you said, rabbit is off the menu, but you don't get any sense of, and you begin to form a very strong connection with Luca, and you can tell when he's judging you. Every time you eat meat, he's never judging you. You get the sense that he knows that what you need to do for survival is what you need to do for survival. Every now and then you'll catch him eating a bug of some sort. That's not much different from you catching a deer and eating it, sort of thing. And
Udric's not afraid to call him out on it. Yeah. See? Double two-faced, that is.
Every time you do that, he always sort of slumps, sort of almost withdraws into himself a little bit. His ears go really flat. His head goes into his torso, so there's like no neck. It's just head and body. And if he could blush, he would. But you can tell that you get that subtle sense that he feels embarrassed when you pick him out on it. So eventually he stops judging you. He stops not judging you, but he stops giving you the side glance whenever you do eat meat, and it becomes a bit more of a joke between the two of you. And you can feel that you can have a conversation with him without him actually having to reply, just by the features, the expressions, and the body language that he gives off.
Madness be like that.
Sorry?
Madness be like that.
Yeah. It'd be so much easier if we could just communicate like that.
Yeah. If we had ears long enough to just be like, ooh.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah.
You don't know how much time passes. Again, a very popular thing that I'm doing in these one-on-ones. But you go to the fountain one day to get a drink, as you do every morning. Obviously, this is the purest source of water that there is around. You're not 100% sure. You could go back to the river if you wanted to, but it's not as pure as this place. This place, the healing properties that it has here, just it's just something about it.
Yeah, I think at some point he probably has gone back to the river, like just to get that leather armor, but probably not even with the intention of wearing it as armor. Just the rest of his clothing has gotten shabby and needed patching, so he's kind of taken to cannibalizing that that set of leather armor to patch here and patch there.
When you go to get that leather armor, I'll have you roll me either a investigation or perception check.
Investigation or perception?
Yes.
I have a slightly better perception, so I will go for that. Just flat.
Just flat, yeah.
18.
18. Okay, so as you go back to get your armor and you pick your armor up, it's been here for a very long time. Again, you're not quite sure how long, but the local foliage around here has started growing in it and around it. So it takes you have to use your dagger to cut the foliage away. Mm-hmm. And you can see that parts of the armor have been pierced by thorns and things that have sort of pushed up from the ground and pushed into it. And So your armor's a bit holy. But as you pick it up, you notice something falls out of the armor and onto the floor, like a piece of paper or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of,
Okay.
Sorry?
Oh, okay. Udric's definitely taken to just saying everything out loud at this point.
Yeah.
Like, wonder what that is, and we'll pick it up and have a look at it with this piece of paper.
So as you pick the piece of paper up and turn it over, it's slightly torn in one of the corners. It looked like it had been in water. It wasn't so much in your armor as it was resting on your armor, but the foliage covered it over time. And as you look at it, I don't know how you would feel, but maybe a sense of shock as you see the picture that Luca received the day before you left on this mission, on that fateful mission. The picture of his wife and his daughter, the ink slightly smudged, but their features are still there. As I said, the corner of it is ripped. You didn't have that picture when you left here. It was on Luca's person when he was killed. So you have no idea how it got here. With a perception of 18, however, after moving your armor, you realize that your armor wasn't quite in the place that it was that you were originally thrown it in. It had shifted slightly, which is why it probably took you a little bit longer to find it. You thought it might have just been, it's been ages since I've been here, I can't quite remember where it is. But as you've lifted the armor up and the earth underneath it has been revealed where some of the vines have poked through, you can see footprints, and you can trace those footprints back to the river, although they, with how old the footprints are, they do dissipate quite early on. They don't go right back to the river. But they're not your footprints. They're smaller. And less organized. They look more. It looks like one foot is dragged and the other one is stepped. Basically, it looks like, what you're probably assuming right now.
Gonna be one of those days, is it? I think out of curiosity is going to follow the footprints. Like, doesn't want to stray too far away from the grove, but will kind of, maybe just spend an hour going slightly out of his way to see if, like you say, he's got no idea how long ago this was, whether there's any chance that he would find Luca, but he's going to see.
Other Luca, Rabbit Luca,
yeah,
follows you. And every time you've gone out on the hunt or foraging or anything, Luca's always been quite close by your side, has pointed out things that you might have missed, and has been quite a friendly companion, quite a helpful familiar to have around, as it were. And you move
as they're kind of moving, will just be kind of like, this one's going to be dangerous, you should probably get back to your family.
Doesn't seem to pay attention to that. He acknowledges you feel acknowledgement from you, but he's effectively ignoring you when you tend to go back. But he sticks close to your side, not so much to get under your feet, as it were, but sticks at you and is sort of sniffing the air, and every now and then his ears will prick up when he hears something, and he'll stop and look in the direction. You can use him as a. I was just going to say, you can use him as a. What's the word? It's like you can use him as like a scout.
Yeah, I think initially Udric's going to be kind of we'll kind of tell Rabbit Luca a little bit about their namesake Luca, but after the first couple of times of Luca's ears pricking up and that, will kind of slink into the kind of hunting instinct.
Yeah. You follow the footprints. Now, the footprints themselves lead far away from the grove. It doesn't seem that this Luca, old Luca, should we say, has picked up on where you were, and has just seemingly walked off somewhere else. You walk for quite a while before you begin to get that sense that maybe you should turn back. Again, like you said, you don't know how long ago these footprints were, but you know that he's out there somewhere.
Yeah, I think getting that sense, like, Udric's very much like learned to hone his senses and trust his instincts, and so when he starts to get that feeling that this is a hopeless endeavor, like he's obviously not going to catch him, like that was months ago most likely, he will turn back and presumably left the armor behind because that's just going to be extra weight, but with the intention of circling back and collecting it.
Yeah, you circle back and collect your armor, and you can make your way.
Kind of brambles and everything that he's cut away is going to make sure he keeps inside it, and is going to offer that to Luca and their family.
Awesome. Yeah, you can do that. You take that stuff, take all of it back. They have a field time with eating all of it and really enjoy it. It's after that day that things began to get a bit strange, and it took you a little while to notice it happening. The next morning you woke up and you went to the pool to get your drink, and as you drank it, you noticed that there was a bit of a strange taste to it. Now, there's been plenty of times before when you've had a little sip from the fountain and there's been a little odd taste to it before, but this is a different taste. But for the first however long, doesn't really register with you. It's like, oh, it's only a little taste, it'll disappear after a little while. It's fresh water that's constantly flowing in. It's, it will sort itself out, sort of thing. But eventually, as you're drinking it, and as the days go by, you go hunting, you check for more tracks to see if Luca or anybody else has circled back and has sort of treaded on effectively what your territory now, maybe, if that's how you want to consider it. About 2 to 3 months after the initial odd taste, you notice that the pool itself has begun to change colour. Whereas before it was a very fluorescent blue colour, to the point where it was lighting up the area of the cave that it was in, it has now begun to dull and has begun to turn a more light grey, and that a luminescent part of it has begun to fade away, and it's becoming more just standard water. The healing properties that it was giving to you before seem to be wearing off. You'd go for a long walk, you'd put yourself to the point of exhaustion with hunting and bringing things back, and then you would normally drink some of the drink to make yourself feel better. But it doesn't have that effect anymore. It seems to be losing its magical properties.
I think Udric will kind of go to the tree and put a hand up on the mighty, the bark, and something's up. I don't know what it is. I'm just going to stick true to my word. I'm going to find it.
you notice on the oak that some of the leaves, as this is a world of magic, so oak trees can live in caves, the oak tree never sheds its leaves, no matter the season. Its leaves are always there. But you have noticed that the leaves have started to fall off, which is the first time in all the time that you've been here that the leaves have begun to fall off. And when they fall off, they're not how they are with other trees. You've been out in the forest when it's gotten to the autumn seasons and the leaves have turned like a yellowish, brownish colour and they've fallen off. This is more of a grey, almost like it's lost its colouring completely, but has gone more grey to black, and the leaves have begun falling off. You've noticed that the bark itself on the tree has changed colour. It's becoming a lighter brown, almost to the point of turning grey itself. There's no fish in the pool anymore. They've all disappeared. They probably disappeared a couple of weeks ago. The rabbits, all of them at this point have, or a lot of the kittens or kits have grown up and left their homes. So it's just the, in fact, yes, all of the children have left now, and the mother would have naturally passed away at this point after all of this time. So it is just you and Luca now. But yeah, the fountain is not getting any better. Luca looks up at you. You get the sense from him that he can lead you to where the water source is.
I'm going to kneel down and take some of the grey leaves. Always kind of looking up reverently to the oak tree, and we'll just kind of put them in that same safekeeping pocket. And yeah, I think we'll just kind of, doesn't want to voice it, but feels like this might be a longer stay away from the grove than he's had for a while. So we'll kind of pack his old army pack with whatever essentials might still remain. Like it's probably mostly just the cooking gear and stuff at this point, like, and everything else has been used somehow. But yeah, it's gonna, roll up his sleeping bag and anything else that he's got to hand that he'll just pack up. And right, where's the water come from, Luca?
He begins heading out of the cave system and out into the wooded area, and begins going in a direction that the pair of you haven't gone before, deeper into the woods and up
What's the secret source?
And up an incline. There's something off. You're not sure what it is, but you feel that there's something off with Luca himself. You're not sure if he's moving slower than what he normally does. He's quite old for a rabbit. But he doesn't seem to be himself at the minute, but he's quite happily leading you to where it is that you need to go. But every now and then he has to stop and take a bit of a breath. Have a little bite to eat, have a little bit of a drink, and then carries on.
Every time Udric's like, take as much time as you need. We're not in a hurry.
He always nestles into your hand at the end of eating or drinking something, and then carries on. This is not a day journey. This is not something you can do there and back quickly. It requires you to go through a few different cave networks through up some hills, over some mounds, through the odd open patch of openings of forest and stuff, so you can see the sky. It's the first time you've seen it for a long time. It looks strange. But eventually you begin to hear the flow of running water. And as you get to the edge of a very steep cliff facing, you can see right at the bottom of it, there is it's almost like as if it's protected from view. The only way you could see it is up on this very narrow ridge that you're on, is this iridescent water, or what was probably once considered iridescent water, flowing down and down and down. You've gathered at this point that you've actually climbed a mountain and are looking down at it. You follow the river to its source. You end up climbing up higher. The air gets thinner. Luca has to keep stopping. And eventually you get to the source of it. A large pool at the top of one of the lower mountains of the Emerald Mountains. And you can see inside this pool there is something twisted, something not natural, something that shouldn't be there. It looks to be a machine of some sort. You're fairly knowledgeable about, or you know of machinery, because we would have used certain machines, farming machines at a farm. But this thing looks strange. It looks like it's got a wing sticking out of the water. That's not important. It's made out of wood, it's made out of metal. There's loads of strange pieces to it that you don't know. What is important is the fact that there seems to be something leaking out of it into the pool. And whatever it is that's leaking out of it is causing the water itself to turn black. Not the grey that you've had down in the grove, but just complete tar-like blackness is coming from this machine.
How large are we talking? Like,
we're talking probably, if you're going off of like a D&D scale, well, actually no, we're talking like a single person plane type size.
Oh, blimey, right. Yeah, so like not something like, oh, you little shit. Right.
No, it's quite a big thing. It's quite big.
What are you?
Luca leans forward a little bit, sort of sniffs, doesn't drink it, but sniffs the water, sort of recoils at it, and his ears flop back. Something wrong with the water. You get a feeling from him.
Yeah, don't drink that. That's filthy. I guess we'll go over to this like very large. I don't even know whether Udric would recognize it as a vehicle, because generally it's only been carts and stuff. So
yeah,
doesn't know that getting inside it would be a thing. So he's just going to kind of look around it, try and work out if there's a way that he can move it out.
It's very large. The pool itself is very large. So in order for you to get to it, you're going to have to actually swim to it in order to get there. Because it's like in the middle of this pool, but it's one of its wings and its sort of tail end is sticking out. It's not. It doesn't look as advanced as a single person plane. It looks like very steampunky sort of first Da Vinci style designs.
I think he needs to get a closer look, like even if he's going to have to get into the water. So we'll kind of strip down to just like his skivvies and puts a toe in the water, sees whether
It's cold.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that same sensation that the water in the grove used to have.
Yeah, we'll just kind of stride into it.
It feels a lot thicker than what normal water would. And this blacky ichor almost sort of sticks to your skin as you're swimming through. You can see as well if you put your head under the water at all, like to swim.
Probably wouldn't if it's this kind of thick substance like permeating the water would probably be trying to keep his head above the water again.
Yeah, so you keep your head above the water and you swim through. It's very difficult to look down as you're swimming to see if there's anything under or around you, because you don't know if there's any creatures in this pool because you can't see. But you carry on swimming towards it, and eventually you hit something before you actually get to what you can see. It feels metal on your body as you touch it. For all effective purposes, it's probably the nose of the plane. And what would you like to do now that you're here?
I guess it's just going to start testing it. So, has obviously arrived at it, is going to, knows it probably won't work, but is going to try and swim towards it, try and see if that will shift it. Just investigating different parts, seeing whether anything is any more pliable than any of the rest of it.
Okay, make me an investigation check, please.
I would love to. That's a 15.
So with the 15, as you move around the ship and move around this contraption and begin moving it, first thing you notice is just popping out of the water where the body part begins to come up to where the wing is. You can see that there's this large, what looks to be like a large metal bit that is seemingly been ripped out from underneath, and that is what has been leaking this strange fluid into the water. You can grab the wing and move it, and the whole thing moves. So you reckon that if you could get enough force behind it, you could probably move this thing. So you try, but it feels like it's caught somewhere under the water. So if this wing is sticking out, what you would assume to be a wing is sticking out this end, it looks like it's a dragon wing. If that's sticking out this end, there must be one on the opposite side that's in the water that's probably being caught on something.
I don't think it's going to do much, but it's going to initially try and tear off some of, as previously said, like he stripped down to literally just like underpants. It's going to try and tear a section off. If that's not going to work, he's literally just going to strip them off. And
strip this contraption down.
No, I'm going to strip my underwear off, and I'm going to try and stick it into the thing that's leaking this substance. I'm going to try and clog it up.
Okay.
Probably, given that he literally stripped everything off, that's not going to be enough. So he's just going to have to take them off entirely and just jam this thing up.
Roll me either survival or nature.
Ooh. That's going to be survival. Not a lot in it, but 21.
Oh, wow. Okay, so with the amount of time that you've been in the Grove, you've learned quite a few little tricks. One of those tricks is there's a moss type substance that can, or like a moss weed type thing that can grow on the edge of a water source. And if you were to get that and mash it up into get enough of it and mash it together, you can make like a really fine paste with it. And you've used it before. You've used the stuff that grows in the grove before to patch up the odd like hole in the piece of brick. There's a draft coming through and you've used it to sort of as a paste to cover that up, sort of thing, and it's solidified itself and has begun growing more vines out of it, sort of thing. So you would know that if you were to swim to the edge, back to the edge of the pool where Luca is, or to any of the other edges, you could probably find some of this moss stuff, mesh it together, and create this almost like cement style glue natural stuff that you could pack into that and stop it from doing it, causing the damage that it's doing.
Yeah, we'll probably be thinking about that, and yeah, still wants to try and stymie it as much as possible in the short term, but that will be a much more long-term solution. So yeah, I'll try and do that first.
Yeah, so you try to pack with the little bit of clothing that you have on you, and then you swim back to the shore, grab the moss, easy to find, you can find it easily, mesh it together, swim back. Luca is sat away from the edge of the water at the moment, just watching everything you're doing, and you pack in this moss stuff into this thing that's leaking out. The entire time that you've been doing this and you've been putting your hands into this area to block it, you felt something pushing out into your hands, like the thicker liquid has been pushing out through the gap into the water. But as you started packing it, the flow has started to get slower, to the point eventually when the moss itself begins to harden, even though it's underwater, it sort of expands out a little bit and doesn't quite harden like you would expect it to, but it expands out and blocks the rest of the hole. That liquid stops flowing through, and you feel that you've done a good enough job to stop this, whatever this is, from causing any more contamination to this pool.
Okay, and so having done that, we'll then turn to, right, can I find this other wing? Like, especially if I've managed to stem the flow a little bit, like hoping the water might start to clear up a little bit more if you did have to swim down. Yeah, I'll try and find this other wing.
Okay, so I mean, it's pretty easy it will be pretty easy to find, because you just follow the course of the sort of structure of the plane, as it were, and as I said, you will need to pull yourself underwater in order to do it.
Yeah.
So you do that, you pull yourself underwater, and as soon as you get under like that thick blackness that is in the water, and you sort of get deeper down where it hasn't quite reached yet, you can see that there's this strange purple glow that's emanating around the outskirts of the pool, and you can see that there are bodies that are floating in this pool that seem to be glowing this strange purple color as well. You find the wing, and you're able to move a few rocks out of the way in order to loosen it out and lift it, and you cause the ship to, or whatever this thing is, to this contraption to tilt, and you see above you see a large splash as it's readied itself up, so it's now floating with both wings out of the water. As you've done that, you look around and the bodies begin to move in this almost jarring way, and they look at you with purple eyes and begin swimming towards you at a very unnatural pace. They're swimming at you quite quickly, and as if they know how to swim. Instead of doggy paddling, they're like proper swimming towards you, mouths open, water flowing in, purple eyes. Their skin is almost this ashen grey with purple veins sticking out of it, poking out of their skin, and you run away.
Yeah, I'm going to be swimming up. I think just trying to get out of the water, so we'll probably try and climb up onto the vehicle and out of the water as quick as I can get.
Yeah, so you climb out of the water, out onto the vehicle. The vehicle itself begins to sink into the water a little bit because it's not resting on anything now that it's been pushed out. And these creatures, these humanoid creatures, just pop out of the water. It's not too unfamiliar from when you fought the undead, except for these things look completely different. They pop out of the water and begin trying to claw at you. Their mouths, their teeth are black. You can see there's like this purple light that's coming out from their throats and is like shining out of their mouths. Not too brightly, but they are just trying to get at you. You can see that Luca over in the corner is looking around frantically at what to do, but doesn't want to leave you, doesn't want to leave your stuff. You could run across the wing quick enough and jump onto the land. The wingspan is large enough.
Yeah, I think if I can see that there's a route that I can get back to the bank, I will definitely try and take that. Like being cautious to dodge any hands that are grasping for me.
You do that, you run along. Obviously the wing begins to buckle into the water, but just as it begins to dip in, you're able to leap and land on the other side. The fact that you're stark bollocks naked means that that's a lot easier for you to do. If you're wearing any form of armor, that would have sunk a lot quicker. But you get to the other side, you grab your clothes, and you can run if you want to.
Yeah, and I think we'll be trying to run back in the direction of that they came from. Actually, I don't want to lead them there. No, I'm going to go up slightly on a tangent initially. So yeah, I don't want to head directly back, like following the source along. I want to go perpendicular, and then I will try and loop myself back. And I've in addition to picking up my armor, like I know that Luke has been struggling. I'm just going to pick Luca up and leg it.
Yeah, so you pick Luca up and you leg it. This strange black substance is sort of almost falls off of you like water, but it's to the point where you get out of the water, and as it falls off of you, you're like dry underneath straight away. So you're not running around naked and wet. You are, as soon as that liquid leaves you, you're dry, bone dry, and you run. You initially have to run the way that you came, because if you were to run a different direction, you'd get lost because you don't know the way. So you run most of the way back that you were led, but when you get closer to the grove, that's when you begin to sort of circle around and weave and duck and dodge out of the way and try to lose these creatures. You're not sure if they have followed you or not, but you do this as a precaution anyway, and eventually you make it back to the grove itself. And as you enter into the grove, you can see that the lights and everything within it are beginning to dim. Doesn't look too good in here. The pool of water is now completely black. Whatever that liquid was has seeped into this place while you've been gone. The grey oak tree, all of its leaves have gone. It's completely grey. And as this happens, you feel a coldness come from your chest, and as you look down, you can see that Luca is barely breathing.
Udric doesn't have any magic. Like he's not doesn't have anything that he like keeps up his sleeve or anything. Literally, all he's known is surviving in this grove, and he doesn't know what to do if the grove is not surviving. I think we'll go over to the base of the oak where, months, maybe years ago, he left the letters. Is going to have Luca there, and is just again going to kind of prostrate himself in front of the tree. Please, I don't know what to do. He's my only friend. Come on. I need you to save him. And I know you don't have much left, but if you've got anything that you can just dredge up from somewhere, please save Luca. I need him.
You feel a very light breeze, very weak breeze blow around you and seemingly stop. Luca, his eyes are barely open, looking up towards you. You can feel from him that not compassion. You can feel compassion, and you can feel a sense of love coming from him. But you can feel that he's fading, and he sort of begins holding his paws out towards you.
Yeah, I'll be kind of soothing him and like patting him, giving him scratches, as everything that as he would.
And as you do that, Luca breathes his last breath. But in the process, that breeze picks up again, but doesn't come from like the entrance or from any of the cracks or anything. It comes from the base of the oak tree as well. Instead, and you begin to see your focus is on Luca. So you don't look up or anything, but you see falling around you ash, as if something is disintegrating and falling apart. And as it gets to where Luca is, you can see that the oak tree itself is disintegrating and disappearing. Its roots begin to turn to dust. It all flows around you, and as it all lands on Luca and yourself and covers the pair of you in it, it begins to glow, boom, boom, like a heartbeat. Boom, boom. This green, the dust turns green and brown and all of the sort of colours of nature, and you watch as it almost begins to embed itself into your skin. It begins to embed itself into Luca as Luca's form begins to disappear. Not so much turn to dust, but Luca's form begins to turn into like a spiritual energy. And as you're connected to him, touching his paw, his body, his spiritual energy begins to wrap itself around your hand and flow up your arm. You can watch, like when you were poisoned before, these green veins, but not as sickly as the poison. Instead, it's like iridescent green with that blueness of the pool before following behind it as it cascades up your arm, into your shoulder, and down into the heart of your chest as Luca's form disappears, and all of this dust turns green and is absorbed into you. It's at this point that you feel a connection to nature. You felt connected to Luca in the past. You've learnt to read his expressions and have conversations with him. That sense of joy that brings you, it fuels this connection that you now have to nature. But there seems to be something a bit off with it. You're not quite sure what it is, but you go to place your hand down where Luca was, and as you remove it, a small bead emerges out and tries to touch your hand before it turns black and disintegrates. Your first use of Druidcraft. You feel an essence of magic, of nature flowing through you. As the grove begins to die, the mushrooms, the moss, everything begins to disintegrate away. You are left in the darkness on your own, but you feel that Luca is with you always.
I think slowly and somberly, with the grove crumbling away around him, he's going to go over, to everything that he dropped, slowly dress again. This time taking everything. Right. Got some purple glowing creatures to hunt then. And, I think doesn't want to, because he doesn't want to remember the grove like this, but also feels that it's important that everything in its life is recorded. So we'll turn and just watch as everything around him dies. And then once everything is still, we'll start to retrace his steps, looking for whatever those creatures were. Probably trying to track down whatever it is that created the machine that destroyed his grove.
And you do that. As you get dressed, you feel something in your pocket. And as you look at it, you see that picture again. And a promise that was made a long time ago. Now that you're more connected to nature, you can feel probably what Rabbit Luca could feel. The essence and flow of nature all around you. You know there's points of it that seem to cut off, where nature is either weak or completely gone. And you realize that that's probably civilization. That's probably where people like yourself live. And you've got this not unnatural, but supernatural connection to nature now, that you could navigate through the forest easily without getting lost, because you know these woods. Not just you, but Luca knew these woods, and there's a part of Luca that is living within you now, seemingly granting you the access to this magic, along with the oak tree that was there as well. So you leave, and you travel. You manage to make your way back up the mountain towards the pool of water. The pool is completely black. The metal contraption is no longer there, and neither are the strange purple creatures that were with it. You can see that there are drag marks on the opposite end of the pool, and eventually you'll follow this. The drag marks turn into foot marks, just footprint. You can see footprints and drag marks. They eventually turn into just footprints. Either they've disposed of this contraption, or they've picked it up, or they've done something with it. You're not quite sure. But you carry on following the footprints. And eventually, after months of travel, focused on this one job, you get to a town, and the town says, "Welcome to Merkstead." And that is where we are going to end tonight's session, as you have entered Merkstead. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. hope everybody's okay. That's probably the saddest one that we've done. How are you doing, Sean?
Yeah, I'm good. I've got a tub of Ben & Jerry's in the fridge that is definitely going to be consumed after this. Other ice cream manufacturers are available.
I wish I had some ice cream now. I've got Easter eggs. I'll have an Easter egg. There we go. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for watching. We have been Roll Together RPG. You can catch us on Mondays and Tuesdays for our D&D shows at 6 p.m. UK time, and on Friday for non-D&D TTRPGs, again at 6 p.m. UK time. We also do premieres on YouTube on Wednesdays or Thursdays. Check our schedule or look out on social media for when we're releasing those. They're not every week. They're as and when schedules allow us to record them. Massive thank you to our D20 Club on Patreon. They are amazing. If you'd like to join them, you can from as little as one of your local currency by following the links in chat or in the description below if you are watching on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, please do consider leaving us a like, commenting, and subscribing to the channel. All helps the algorithm and helps us make more content and see where we can change things and what things people like and all of that sort of stuff. So please do that. A massive thank you to our sponsors and supporters, and we are all over socials as Roll Together RPG. I have been Josh. This has been Sean. See you next time. Bye.
Yeah.